Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Shalom. I'm David Mencer, Israeli government spokesman in the National Public Diplomacy Directorate here in the office of the Prime Minister. Questions in the chat, please, and I will take a few after a very quick update from me. It's Thursday, the 26th of September, day 356 of the October 7th war. Let me start with a reminder of Israel's war aims. As we approach the year anniversary of the October 7th outrage, Israel will continue until all of our goals are met. They are the return of all of our hostages, 101 of them. It's a crime against humanity every moment that they're in Hamas captivity. Israelis and people of good conscience the world over say in one loud and clear voice, let them go now. Next, the dismantling of Hamas's governmental and military capabilities, removing the terrorist threat to Israel and returning the residents of Hezbollah. Determined to return our residents to their homes and by outwitting Hezbollah. And the Prime Minister said, performing a double war crime by many people in us to evacuate these ways to save lives. By text message, phone calls, leaflets, websites and radio broadcasts, Israel is comporting fully with international law in its just war against the murderous terror organization that has performed genocidal acts and crimes against humanity. Next on the diplomatic track, the reports about a ceasefire being already agreed are not accurate. The Prime Minister's reiterated that, yes, of course, Israel is open to diplomacy, as we have been. It's always our go-to option. We've been within this situation for a year now, but Israel has yet to respond to this particular American-French proposal. In terms of Israel's military action to defend this country, the Prime Minister and the Chief of Staff could not have been clearer. The Prime Minister's directed the IDF to continue fighting with full force. According to the plan presented by the IDF, the fighting in Gaza also will continue until the objectives of this war have been achieved. And finally, to COGAT, an update of their work coordinating aid into Gaza. Since the beginning of the war, 53,000 truckloads have delivered 1,038,000 tons of aid. Currently, the contents of 490 trucks are waiting, as they have been. I think I've been updating you on this for months now. 490 trucks, and they've stayed at that level, are waiting to be picked up from the Gazan side of Kerem Shalom. Now, 480 of these trucks belong to the UN. They've been there for months, as I said. While international organizations and other NGOs pick up the aid from Kerem Shalom, we urge the UN to do the same and collect the aid which is just waiting there to be delivered. Now, Israel, on its part, stands ready to facilitate these coordinations and any other measures to assist the UN with upscaling their aid collection abilities. You can get all of the details of Israel's humanitarian efforts on COGAT's website, and that's the end of our briefing here today. I'll now take your questions. Please put them in the chat as usual with your news outlet. Thank you for that. Thank you for that. Now, first question here I can see is from Joel Pollack at Breitbart News. Joel says, what a difference today makes. Yesterday I asked about diplomacy, and today there is a ceasefire proposal and also a rejection. What are the terms under which Israel would accept to ending fighting? And why does the ceasefire proposal fail to mention Hezbollah? Thank you for that question, Joel. Look, to those that say that Israel must de-escalate our defensive action in Lebanon and go for a diplomatic resolution right now, let me share with you our position as it stands. If you follow that sort of analysis to its ends, it actually works to the contrary of what I think is the objective we're all trying to go for. After a whole year of receiving Hezbollah rocket fire on our border, with more than 9,400 rockets, missiles and drones fired at us, with 65,000 Israelis forced to flee their homes. We've had 49 dead Israelis murdered by this Hezbollah fire, including actually an Indian national, with hundreds of Israelis wounded, with 200,000 dunams of our land burnt, with close to 1,000 fires started on our land by Hezbollah. If you want a diplomatic resolution after a year when Hezbollah has fired at us almost every single day for a year, it is actually Israel that's creating the political and the strategic realities that will facilitate that. So by hitting Hezbollah, the way we are, in the very calibrated way, but also in a way that causes Hezbollah, the terrorist organization devoted to our destruction, by hitting them in the way that really hurts, it's actually Israel which is making the possibility for a political, diplomatic resolution much more realistic. Now, Hezbollah simply won't pull out of southern Lebanon because we've asked them to, by email or by any sort of document that could be signed right now, because they've spent the last year firing at us, even though the US and France and others have asked them actually to stop. So our requirements are very, very clear. They are, and they're reasonable as well. We want to create a situation where our citizens in the north, tens of thousands of our people who've been dislocated and left their homes for a year now, that they're able to return to their homes in safety. And we also say in a loud and clear voice that this will be achieved when Hezbollah understands that it cannot attack Israel. Hezbollah cannot be physically along our border with southern Lebanon. So far, Hezbollah has said no to any such proposal after an entire year. So Israel's carefully calibrated offensive against Hezbollah, surgically taking out Hezbollah capabilities, when Israel targets and hits Hezbollah, we actually move closer to the reality that we all want. That is facilitating a new security reality, as the Prime Minister said, in southern Lebanon, based on understandings which we have already reached in the past, but we've never meaningfully implemented. That's clear for all to see. It's UN resolutions 1559 and 1701. They've been passed, but never implemented, never enforced. So there's no contradiction whatsoever between the desire to reach a diplomatic settlement on an agreed diplomatic settlement based on this new reality and our action to dramatically address Hezbollah's capability to attack Israel. Okay, next question here is from Fred Ager. Terrorists set fire to the Esh Tomoa synagogue in South Hebron Hills, sparking a debate on Jewish identity and symbols, causing Israelis and Palestinians to call for severe action. What can you tell us about these attacks? In any particular measures the government is taking to protect Jewish places of worship in Judea and Samaria? Thank you very much for that question, Fred. Let me share with you our current actions right now and our duties in Judea and Samaria, as you've asked. Look, Israel's security forces are on extremely high alert, and they're deployed extensively, actually, to thwart these sort of terror attacks. And we know that they're happening because there is incessant incitement. We know that Hamas and Iran, of course, are behind it. They want more murderous violence. They want more innocent civilians killed. They want more violence. But the IDF and the government have made absolutely clear that there will be no safe havens for terrorists in Judea and Samaria or anywhere in this country. Now, we're doing, and the IDF and the government are doing their duty in the entire region, in North Samaria, in Tulkarem, in Jenin, in other places, and in Hebron as well. That's where these murderous attacks have been launched, and that is where we will eliminate terrorism from wherever it emerges. This is of importance now as we approach the Jewish high holidays, the Jewish New Year, and the other holidays, as it is throughout the year. Okay, next question here is from Jim Williams at Zenga International News Service, Washington, D.C. Good afternoon, David. Has the number of Israeli people displaced by the battle in the north increased to over 64,000 residents? Thank you very much, Jim, for that question. I will provide the latest figures that we have, but the figures I gave in my briefing are the current ones that we have. We update them regularly. When there are some new figures, I will share them with you. But of course, it is an outrage that this number, tens of thousands of 64,000 of our people are evicted from their homes, essentially, making areas of our country simply not safe to live in. This is Israeli sovereign territory. And Israel has a duty. It is mandated to defend itself against this effort to dislodge our people from our own country. And the Israeli government has a responsibility to protect its citizens, and that is precisely what we will do, and it's precisely what we are doing. Next question here is from Joel Pollock. You're saying, sorry, please answer question number 2 about Hezbollah not being mentioned in the ceasefire proposal. Thank you for that question, Joel. Israel doesn't have responsibility for that proposal. So for whether Hezbollah are mentioned or not, that's not within our remit. I gave you a very comprehensive answer about the Prime Minister and the government's thoughts about our battle against Hezbollah. We want to push them back away from our border. We want UN resolutions 1701 and 1559 implemented in full. They've already been passed. We don't need to pass them again. They need to be implemented. And we want, of course, to return our people rightfully to their homes. That's the only decent thing which this government desires to do, and it's a fair objective, and it's the right thing for this country, which is why so many people and indeed wall-to-wall support in this country for those objectives. Okay, next question here is from Mark Weiss at Khan Radio. What government forum would need to authorize a ground invasion of Lebanon? Thank you for that question, Mark. That's a question, I imagine, that in terms of the invasion, ground invasion of Lebanon, the IDF has presented a plan. It's been spoken about by the Chief of Staff yesterday. I would advise you to reach out to the IDF to get more information on that. The Chief of Staff spoke quite forcefully about the IDF plan and its responsibility to defend this country. And in terms of any other decisions made by this government, they'll be made in the usual way. Around the cabinet table, this government has a majority in the Knesset, and it will pass whatever will pass whatever decision which it it is mandated to take for the protection of this country. Okay, was there another question up there? Could you go up there for a second? Could you just go up? Just scroll up for a second. Just scroll up for a second. Just scroll up for a second. Okay. Right. I think that's the last question that we've got there. I don't think I've missed any of the questions. So thank you for joining us. The next briefing will be on Monday. It'll be at the same time at 3:30 Jerusalem time. So in the meantime, can you just go to the questions for a second? Because I think I might have missed a question there. Okay, just scroll up. Okay. No, actually, you're right. I have actually taken all the questions. So thank you for joining us. And the next briefing, as I said, will be on Monday. In the meantime, do please stay safe, and bye-bye.
Thanks for watching. Drop a comment below. Don't forget to like, share, and hit subscribe to stay updated with our latest content. Until next time, stay informed and inspired. This is Dejobnik signing off.